Hey, are you talking about back in the day?
Nah, man. I'm talking about back in the day.
Back in the day. Back in the day. Back in the day. Back in the day.
Joining us on the Back in the Day podcast today is Mr. Paul Varghese.
Yes.
How are you, Paul?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm doing okay.
Thanks for coming in.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
I was gonna intro you as like, I've heard you say that you don't like.
I hate
people saying
intros.
this. I was gonna intro you as like Godfather of like Dallas comedy. Like
There was a Godfather, though, right? Wasn't Gary Hood the Godfather at some point?
yeah, I think
Yeah.
so. But
I
I
mean,
think
he passed, though,
so. He
and he
put
moved.
the torch to you.
Is that what he did?
I think so.
Okay.
You know. When,
I'd rather be the Don.
okay, the Don.
Godfather seems, I mean, I'm old, but Godfather seems.
You could say like
Here's the thing, I don't run shit. I've just been here a long time.
you've been here for a long time,
Yeah.
and you've been successful for a long time.
I've been, until COVID hit, and then it's like I started over.
What are you doing? What have you been doing to pass the time during COVID?
I actually enjoyed the time off because I've traveled nonstop for 14 years. So this is the first year I've never traveled for. I went to Houston Wednesday. That was my first out of town gig all year. So I actually kind of enjoyed the downtime. I mean, I got dogs now, so
Yeah.
those are my kids. So I might as well just kill time there. I watch a lot of Food Network.
When you were on the road for
Yeah.
those 14 years, you doing a lot of clubs, or are you doing a lot of like?
I started in clubs. I started with clubs, but then so I started going on the road around 04.
Mm-hmm.
I started in 01. 04, I started going on the road because Russell Peters blew up huge on YouTube in 04. Like YouTube hadn't even started. I think it was like all these Indian kids had just gotten this forward of his Comedy Central special or Comedy Now, whatever in Canada was. And it went viral before YouTube, if that makes any sense. And so he would do all these like shows. He would be in Dallas and do like the Lakewood Theater. It'd be sold out. And I would open for him in those spots because they needed an Indian person to open for him. And so I was like probably the only other one in the country. There's maybe two other people.
Mm-hmm.
So I do those spots. And then when people couldn't afford him, they'd have me do these things. And that's how I got my foot in the door. And then when I got on, I had like, Comedy Central Montreal and all that stuff. Then the club started booking me. But it's weird, man. I was like, there's a big push on diversity now. There wasn't a big push on diversity for the first 15 years of my career. Like nobody was dying to have an Indian comic in their club.
No, everybody wants it, right?
Yeah, and so they bring but they want younger and newer dudes anyway. I mean, I think I'm too much. I think I'm too long in the tooth for some people. I don't know. All I know is it was very hard to get an agent, and I never really got one. I had a college agent, but it was very difficult to even have anybody consider having an Indian comic on their roster because there wasn't any of us. There was Russell, who's huge. There was Aziz, who's huge. There's Hassan, who's huge, and then there's everyone else.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, they're not building careers, or they're not like, hey, this might be the next Russell Peters. I mean, Russell Peters is a perfect example of it. He's a multi-millionaire, like top 5 Forbes for like 20 years or 15 years in a row, and Hollywood wasn't even thinking to looking for the next Russell. Like that's how much Indian people were not on the radar. Because in any other situation, they would be like, hey, we have this great Korean or great black comic. We need to find the next this
Yeah.
person. And Hollywood didn't even think about that with him. So
And with Russell's career, he doesn't have like a lot of like credits of. Most of his money's in stand up, right? Like it's not like
it's all ticket sales.
Yeah.
So he does movies every now and again, but he doesn't need the money.
Yeah.
I mean, he's fine. I mean, he could retire tomorrow and he'd be fine. But he was totally. I mean, he was one of the first guys to go viral, celebrities to go viral, and so that he's still going viral. That means people are still watching that clip from 15 years ago like it's brand new. I mean, you go on there right now and you can see comments like, my friend took me to this. I'm like, where have you been for like 15 years, dude? Like I'm going to send them Sneezing Panda and just blow their mind.
Yeah.
dude,
Like, oh my gosh, what is this?
So he just wrote it off that. And then I just kind of wrote off that. And then I got that. And then I do a lot of corporate stuff and college stuff. I did. And then COVID came in.
So the most of your traveling that you do is college and corporate.
It was college. It was college for a while, but then I kind of I think I aged out of that market too. But also like college comics are like, the majority of college comics are very corny. Mm-hmm. They're very they may be older, but they're doing what they think 18-year-olds want to laugh at. And a lot of colleges just book clean. See, I work clean anyway, but like I'm not corny clean. That's the one thing I like to pride myself on. I don't want you coming to my show because you don't want to be offended. I don't want those people because those people aren't fun to hang out with.
Yeah.
You know? But most colleges want like G-rated, like, hey, let's do an impression of Elmo, and here's a joke about Justin Bieber, and kids just sit there and take. As long as the kids don't get mad, that's what they're booking. They're not booking funny. They're booking what's not going to piss off a kid.
Yeah, they don't want to have to deal with any complaints.
Yeah. So even when I did colleges, I still did my regular set, and if people got upset, they got upset. I mean, but there's nothing offensive in my set. If people are offended by it, like they're not getting it, and that's not I can't do anything about that.
Yeah,
like,
that's not your problem.
I think people think like they lose this sight between racial and racist. Like jokes can be racial, they can also be racist, but just because they're racial doesn't mean they're racist.
For sure.
It's nuance, but they're 18. How would they know? When they hear the word black, they lose their mind. They can't believe you would say the word black.
Yeah.
That's offensive to them, you know? Although African American is so offensive to me, you know?
Why do you say that?
Because it just seems too polite, you know? I've never met one black person who wants to be called African American.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever had any black people tell me like I'm African American. Like that's not like unless they're from Africa. Like if they're like actually African American, like you know, like.
But even like I'm technically Indian American, but you can call me Indian. I'm fine. I get it. I remember in high school in college I was all militant. I'm like, no, I am. When people ask me where you from, I'm like, I'm from Texas. I'm from like, I know what they want to hear.
Yeah.
So now I'm just like, my parents are from India. I'm here.
Are you first generation?
Yeah. So the parents, still have the accent.
Okay.
It gets thicker. It got thicker. I don't know how that happened.
My dad's from Iran, and I think his accent's getting
Yeah, it's weird, right?
Yeah, like as he's gotten older, it's like I don't know what it is. I think what it is that he's retired, so he's not going to work, and maybe
that makes sense.
Maybe that's what it is.
Because my mom can turn hers on and off, but it was pretty soft for a while when she was a nurse for a long time. Obviously, shock. And then when she retired, it went back to thick. Now it's like she just moved here.
Yeah,
I'm like, what happened?
When I went on, I didn't realize my dad had an accent until I went to college and had to start talking to him on the phone. I'm like, what are you saying to me right now? Like, who is this man?
Dude, I never knew my parents had an accent until I went to my first friend's house. Because all my friends growing up before school were all Indian.
Yeah, of course.
So all you hear, you don't think anybody has an accent. Then like I remember, and my parents never taught me, their language is called Malayalam, and they never taught it to me. And you know, my aunts and uncles, when I went to go to India, they'd be like kind of chastise them, like, why would you not teach them their native language? And I realized why they did it is because they can talk shit about me.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know what they're talking about, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's all everybody did. So then when I finally, so I never understood what they're talking about. So when the first, I think it was 4th or 6th grade, I can't remember, it was something like that. I went to go to a friend's house and I heard the parents like arguing about like broccoli, and I understood every word, and I was like, oh, this is... am I supposed to listen to this? I don't know. I couldn't believe it. It felt like I was watching porn.
Yeah,
it was just
you're like, this is...
I can understand what these adults are saying.
What, when your parents are, I already don't remember what you said the name of the language was. Well, I remember it, but I don't want to butcher it.
Don't worry about it.
Okay, when they're speaking that,
Yeah.
Are they 10 times louder than when they're speaking in English?
Well, so they speak English in the same rhythm as they speak Malayalam. So Malayalam is basically like, it's super fast.
Okay.
And it's super wordy. And so they speak English the exact same way. So I have to slow down. But now they do speak it in, like, they don't whisper it in public. Like, that language that nobody understands is their whispering. So they can just speak full volume. If they want to talk about how fat that person is, they can just say it.
Dude, when my dad is on the phone, when I was a kid, my dad would be on the phone with someone back from Iran. It was like, I could hear it upstairs. He'd be on the far end. I'm like, who are you screaming at right now? Like, it's insane.
Yeah, they literally think like, well, because back in the day, look, my parents moved here in the 70s. Long distance was like, it wasn't good. Like the service wasn't good. So they felt like yelling was gonna help.
Yeah, like they're not, you don't have to yell. Like that thing that's on your face right now, it transmits your voice to them. You don't have to scream. They're not actually that far away from you.
Also, like, they don't know, the relatives back in India, they don't understand that. I mean, I know this is before the internet, but they don't understand time zone differences. Because my parents would be like, okay, it's 10 and a half hours behind. Okay, we don't want to wake them up. We'll call them at 2 in the afternoon, or like at 11 o'clock in the morning. It'll be 9 o'clock their time. They call like at 4 in the morning, and like the first thing my parents think is like, I mean, this is before caller ID, so the phone's ringing at 4 in the morning. They're already in a panic, you know.
Yeah.
And my dad would answer every phone call. It didn't matter what it was. And then it's just them catching up, somebody catching up from India at 4 in the morning. I'm like, You don't call for small talk.
No, not at 4 a.m. man.
Dude, I don't even do small talk on the phone. Like it's all my friends think I'm weird, but I don't talk on the phone. If you're calling me, there better be an emergency, because I've had friends who just call me just to catch up. I'm like, dude, if you're like dying, I'm probably not gonna answer that call because you've called me 5 times just to bullshit about the Cowboys. I need an emergency. You can text me. You can text me all you want. You can text me all the small talk you want, but you can't call me unless something's on fire.
Do you leave voicemails still?
Yeah, I get nervous as hell too, man. Do you remember when voicemails first came out, and if you waited long enough on Sprint, they would tell you, do you want to re-record this?
Yes.
So I was dating this girl time, and I was so mad. I'm yelling all this shit on the voice, and I'm like, okay, fine, you know what? And then I'm like, I'm just gonna keep yelling for a minute and a half, and I'll say, do you want to re-record it? And I'll just be all calm and collected. Well, that prompt never came. I don't know when Sprint never sent the memo, so you just hear all this anger for like a minute and a half. I'm like, yeah, so
I'm gonna record.
where's that? Did it beep already? It's like a 2-minute thing. It was like, I mean, obviously we're not together anymore, but
Yeah.
I forgot when they did that. They should have sent a memo out.
Yeah, that's definitely something that they need to let their people know for sure.
But now, like my buddy from a few months ago, I left a voicemail to him, but I was leaving it on speakerphone, but I always voice text like this, so I said the words. I was like, "Hey man, just call me back. Period. I'll let you know." I didn't really, and so he called me. I didn't know I did it. He was like, "Dude, you left the most hilarious voicemail ever, dude. It's just you saying punctuation." I was like, so I don't like doing it. I'd rather text.
Yeah, I don't leave a lot of voicemails, and I think the only person that I leave a voicemail to is my mom, because she leaves voicemails.
Okay.
But her voicemails don't say anything. She's like, "Hey, it's Mom, call me back." Yep, I got that flashing on my phone.
Yeah.
Let me.
Yeah, people think they have an answering machine, like it's beeping and stuff, dude. I think the worst thing, I think not the worst thing, obviously it's hyperbole, but I remember the most frustrating thing is because I grew up in the era of answering machines, and so I had one in college, and I remember every time I'd be gone for the day, I'm like, I got to go back and see my messages, and like if it's not flashing, you've been gone for 10 hours and it's not flashing, it's like you realize how lonely you really are.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
You ever run into people that they do like a real long goodbye? Like they say goodbye like on the phone like 4 or 5 times.
Now, on the conversation or voicemail?
Yeah, so on the conversation it was like, hey, I just pulled up to the house, so I need to let you go. That's goodbye to me.
Yeah.
Right? But there's that one person like, hey, I just pulled up to the house. I'm real busy right now, so I gotta let you go. I got a lot of things going on. I'm real crunched for time, so I'm letting you go. You have a great day.
Okay.
And you're just like, we're said bye 4 times. Can you just hang up the phone?
But didn't your dad have relatives or friends when they came over to the house? Like they'd always spend the first hour hanging out in the house, and then the last 2 hours saying goodbye on the porch.
Yes, that's what my in-laws do.
I don't know if that's a cultural thing, but it's for Indian people, we spend more time on the porch talking than inside the house.
My in-laws are Hispanic, and when we go to their house, when we're leaving like for the weekend or whatever, and we are about to come back home, we will say goodbye in the house.
Okay.
They'll follow us outside. We'll stop. We'll talk a little bit,
about the walk from the living room to the porch.
Whatever. We talk a little bit, say goodbye there, maybe hug again. Then they'll come to the car.
Okay.
We'll stand by the car.
Okay.
Say like, oh yeah, whatever, like goodbye or whatever, and then the window will be rolled down, and then we'll say goodbye as the window is rolled down. So
That's silly.
It's a process.
Yeah, because I just dip out. I have a big problem with Irish goodbying people. Like if we're all hanging out, like even and it all started because of the open mics. Mm-hmm. Because like there's 30 people there, whatever. All the comics are all there. I'm not Obama shaking hands with everybody before. I'm going to see all these people tomorrow. So why are we doing all this? And I remember a comic getting mad at me because I didn't say bye to them. Like he gave me shit about it. Like the next, not like ball busting. He was like offended that I shook everybody else's hand. I'm like, dude, I'm not doing this. I'm just dipping out. I'm not saying bye to anybody. I'm out. So I have a problem with doing that all the time now.
Yeah. So you said you were in college. Where'd you go to college at?
UNT.
What'd you study in college?
Film.
Film?
I had no idea what I was going to do.
No plan?
No, I still don't, but I wasn't good at anything. I've never been good at anything.
Well, were you doing like film stuff in high school? Like what were you doing?
No, so in high school, the only time I got like any of the girls talking to me is when we were doing like, I was that kid. You ever seen Spider-Man Homecoming? Okay, well, they always have like, the big joke in there is those 2 kids that report the school news on the TV. I was that kid on there. and I was a kid that would do the announcements over the air, and that was the only time, like, because there was always cute girls in that class because they all want to be
on TV.
On TV, yeah.
And you're told they're pretty.
Yeah, and I knew how basic electronic stuff worked, so I was like their genius, and that was the only time they'd ever talk to me. That period, outside of there, they would totally ignore me. But then, I was like, okay, maybe I'll just go do that in college. I don't know. I wasn't. I'm not smart, so I wasn't good at anything. I hit my ceiling in around 11th grade. At that point, I couldn't figure.
What happened in 11th grade?
I don't know. I don't know, dude. I remember, like, I hit my ceiling with math because I remember pre-cal, I nailed it because everything was so easy for me to figure out. And then there was a part where I was like, okay, I got to go for tutoring. And I remember sitting there trying to figure out derivatives. I don't know if you remember what derivatives were. I remember sitting there with my teacher named Mr. Gammons. I'm sitting there, I'm tutoring, and I'm asking all these questions. And I went there every day for like weeks. And at one point, I remember him going, "You're fucking with me, right?" Because I just couldn't, it wasn't processed in my head. And I was like, no, dude, I just don't know. It was so frustrating for me because I didn't understand why I had a block. I don't think it was a learning disability. And maybe I was too logical because I was like, why are we breaking down letters this much?
Yeah, I had a hard time with derivatives too because there was no practicality to it.
Exactly. I think that's what my issue was. I was like, I don't know when I'm going to use this because what am I going to do with this? Like, I'm not smart enough to put this into anything.
Yeah, I couldn't transfer it to something like anything real life. Like I'm never gonna be like, okay, so you have 7 derivatives, like, and 3 derivatives. Like I don't know how to like break that down math wise.
Yeah.
So I had a hard time with that too.
Yeah. So and then English was the only stuff that I was good at as far as like creative writing. But you can't. I mean, you're a kid of immigrants. You can't be like, I'm gonna go be a creative. I'm gonna go be an author. Like there's no authors. And in America, there was no entertainment Indian icons to look up to.
Not at that time, right?
Not at all. I mean, only in the last few years, right? Have people really popped up? So if you don't see, for me, if I don't see it on TV or see it, I'm in my head, I wasn't like, well, I'm going to be the first guy. I was never that guy. I was always like, well, I can't do that because I don't see anybody. So obviously we don't do that. That's a white, black, Hispanic thing.
Yeah.
So like stand up totally fell in my lap, man. So
you go to college. Yeah. You're doing film.
Yeah.
Did you finish your degree?
Yeah.
So what was your plan? I mean, did you have the plan?
I didn't have a plan, dude. So I did similar stuff at UNT. Like I had my own show that I produced and edited and did all stuff. And I thought maybe I can just go do that. I don't know how to get to that because this is before like Google. So you can't just look up like, hey, I'm going to go be how to be a film producer. You can type that into Google and there's stories of people. Like, I don't know any of that. I mean, there's no template for me to do anything. So I was like, okay, I'll just apply to be a producer for this show, and I'll just. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what else to do.
Yeah.
And nobody took me in. So I was like, okay, maybe that's a sign from the universe. I always look at repeated rejections not as motivation, as like, oh, the universe is telling me that.
This isn't probably a very good idea.
Because I think we're all confused. I think a lot of people look at like, I got rejected 100 times. I kept fighting through it. I'm like, maybe that's a problem, because like I look at with like Louis C.K., right? He got busted for all this crazy power trip stuff. You know what I mean? Like he's been rejected so many times. At some point, he's just like, well, you just keep fighting through it. Now you got these predators out there. It's like because they're just, oh, she doesn't mean no, she means yes, and that's just a product of people just telling you no, and eventually it works. But I've never. Like I'm not gonna be in the NBA. I'm not good enough to be in the NBA. Even when I was in high school, I'm not good enough to be in the NBA. I get that.
I understand that.
I'm not gonna if I work hard enough. I'm 5'9". What am I gonna do?
Yeah, I don't believe like everyone says like all people are created equal. That's definitely not true.
Yeah.
Like I can, like you said, like you and I could quit everything that's precious to us in our life right now.
Yeah.
And spend the next 2 years focusing completely on basketball.
Yeah.
Get Michael Jordan's trainer.
Yeah.
Go through the same stuff.
Yeah.
We're not making the G League.
Yeah.
It's not like that's not happening.
It like just hard work only takes you so far. I think that's the big thing. I mean, and I learned that with stand up, because that's the one thing that I was good at. It applies my creative writing, but I was never outgoing until about maybe 10 years ago. Like I was up there for the first 10 years. I was just going through the motions because I knew these jokes worked, but I wasn't really enjoying it, Like
really?
I was getting work, but it wasn't like I felt like I had friends who were way funnier than me. The comedy guys I like Mark Adrian, Jason James, and Rod Sharma, like Aaron Arnpur. Those guys are way funnier than me from jump. So I just happened to be getting work, and I would bring them with me. But they were in conversation. They were crushing me in conversation.
Oh, so you say in like life, you think they're funnier than you hanging out?
Well, that and on stage, I never understood why they weren't getting as much stuff as I was. I was like, and I was like, am I getting it just because I'm brown? I'm the only brown dude doing it. Am I really funny? I could never really tell, you know?
I don't know, man. You're pretty freaking funny on stage, dude. Like,
but I'm way more comfortable now, though. I'm way different than I was 10 years ago, you know?
I'm trying to think the first time I saw you, maybe 09,
Yeah.
08-ish.
Okay.
I'm thinking when I got, because I started in Oklahoma.
Okay.
Because I started when I was in college. And
Okay.
so I graduated in December of 08.
Okay.
And then I started doing comedy here in 09.
Okay.
So, yeah, no, that's funny that you say that you weren't comfortable. Because when I just remember you always being, that's like, you seemed like that stage was your stage. Like, you know, like
I also
the
went
entire
up,
time.
but I went up a ton. I went up all the time. I think from like 03 to probably 2015, I went up every single night. That unless it was closed on a Christmas, I went up every single night. Even when I flew in from gigs, let's say I flew in at 7 p.m. on a Tuesday, I'd still go hit the mic. Like I always hit mics all the time. Like to my detriment. I mean, it kind of changed who I was fundamentally as a person in bad ways, in some good ways, and in a lot of bad ways too, though. But I'm so comfortable on stage now. Now it doesn't feel like I'm turning on anything. Like before, if you saw me in 09, before that, I'm like, okay, I got to get this joke out. I got to get this out. I got to do this. I got to start here. And now I'm just like, okay, I already know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go up there and I'm fine. But I wish I had this confidence back then. You know what I mean? That's, back when I was getting meetings and doing all this stuff. Because I remember the first time I did Montreal, I don't have an agent, so I have to so all these people are like, hey, come out to LA for these meetings, blah blah. I'm going out to meetings like dressing up like I'm going to a job interview. Like I don't know if you know how those meetings work. You can wear this.
Yeah, they wanted to see you
and just hang out and talk. I mean, I had this red. It was the awful red shirt and it had like French cuffs on it and like tucked into like some khaki pants, and I had like my headshots all printed out. I printed them out at Kinko's. I had them in black and white. I have them in a little folder. I'm walking in like I'm going for, because that's what I didn't know anything.
You thought you were like going for like a substitute teaching job.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I didn't know what they wanted. Nobody here can tell me that. I didn't have an agent or manager who was like, hey man, put a hoodie on, like relax. I'm there by myself. I remember sitting in front of like there's 8 CBS execs around because they were talking about the head of the VP of casting for CBS wanted to build a show around. Like she wanted to do like an Indian Everybody Loves Raymond kind of thing. But why would you do that to me when I'm sitting there with my headshots like in my khaki pants and we can't sell this, dude. Like now it would be a lot easier. But back then it was like, yeah, I didn't know what I was doing, man. I can't believe I did all that stuff. But nobody told me anything else. You know, like, what am I supposed to do? Nobody here in Dallas knew. They were all excited, like, "Yo,
what CBS you're going to here?
Make sure you shave."
Yeah.
Like, like, what are you doing now? It's just like, oh,
did you go to Kohl's? Did you get your stuff?
yeah. Make sure you get all your headshots. Update your resume. I'm like, okay, I guess. You know, it's the worst advice ever, man. Whatever. So now they're all in LA. They know.
Yeah, now they can help you out.
No, it doesn't matter. But yeah, man, I just never felt comfortable in that. I felt like I felt like I was always like, the reason I worked so hard is because I felt like I was kind of a fraud in a sense. Because I remember comics giving me shit that like, oh, you're getting that because you're Indian, this and that. Which, if that happened, there would have been famous Indian dudes before me. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, not that I'm famous, but you know what I mean? They would have. But so, I always like, okay, well, I got to write out of that, and I got to keep writing other stuff, and I got to work harder than these guys because they think I'm getting by off my ethnicity shit. So, I always busted my ass in that sense. But I didn't really need to because they were just hating on me at that point. I didn't realize that, you know.
Did you ever consider moving to LA or
I never got any serious offers from any, and I did all the festivals and stuff. They just never, it never felt like, LA never felt like a city that I would just go to unless they wanted me there. Do you know what I mean? Like if I had like a network deal or because all my friends that I know that have done really well in LA, they were signed before they went there. Like they were approached at a festival or a showcase, like, hey man, if you come out here, we're going to sign you, we're going to do this, and they all made it. Now, it's not saying that people moved out to LA and didn't achieve stuff, but I didn't want to spend 5 years just hoping.
Starting over almost.
Yeah, well, I just don't like the what ifs. Like I don't know any other profession where you just move to a big city and then hope to find a job. Like,
yeah, that's really true. Yeah, that's a good point.
You know, because and especially look again, I'm the only brown dude at that point doing it. Like, why would there's no template that it works. You know what I mean? At that point, you know, now it's like They want everything diverse, and they don't care what. I mean, you see, like there's some show on NBC now where it's them all Zoom calling each other, and there's every ethnicity and gender, like all 6. It's like it looks like Captain Planet, and we're supposed to believe that that's like organically these 6 people are best friends. You know? So I mean, there's no. Again, I was never that guy that's like, I'm gonna be the first brown dude to do this. I was just, if I like. I've always been insecure. Why would I think that I can just go take over Hollywood? I just never had that in me. You know, it's not a competitive thing. It's just common sense. If it hasn't happened to anyone else.
Well, and if you're doing comedy on the road, you can be out of Dallas, based out of Dallas, right? Like you don't have to be in LA.
I'm really good at stand-up, but I'm not an actor. I'm not going to blow them away with my Brad Pitt acting skills. They're going to have to, if I'm going to get a TV show, it's going to be because how Seinfeld got his. He's not an actor. It's just built around who he is, you know?
Yeah. And they have other really good actors on the show.
Exactly.
I'm not carrying all that.
I'm not going to do the heavy lifting, you know? And also, like, I mean, that was the only thing. I'm not going to be a host on a show. I can't imagine. There was no Indian talk show host at that point. Why would I think I'm going to be the dude? I'm wearing these red French cuff shirts and khakis. Why would I think that? You know what I mean? Now you can just go in cool as shit, you know, and just nail it, dude. Like, if I had a son, I could totally. I'd give him all my material, and he'd crush it, and he'd have 2 hours at 18, and he'd be like Chappelle, and I'd tell him everything, and he'd be fine.
So you're going to a bunch of colleges. What's the worst college you've gone to?
Like experience?
Yeah, worst experience.
There's a couple, but well, I don't know if this is the worst, but a lot of them I didn't realize this until I got there that I was part of Diversity Week. So that's how colleges are kind of fucked up. Like if you go to like Idaho, I did a lot of shows in Wisconsin, on the Northwest and stuff, and you'd go there and you're walking to the venue and there's a big banner and it says Diversity Week, Thursday, comedian Paul Varghese. It's like, you feel kind of like a zoo exhibit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I remember a kid taking pictures, a big line of people to take pictures. This is I think it was Idaho or North Dakota, one of those things. A big line of kids taking pictures, wanted line to take pictures. I was like, I mean, I did well. I was like, okay, this is, I guess they're fans, whatever. And so everybody's taking pictures. And then like some dude, like halfway through the line, he goes, while he's taking the picture, we're taking the picture. He's like, yeah, it's cool, man. My sociology professor is giving us extra credit to show that we were here. I'm like, the sociology professor like sent them to go watch a Brown comic, you know, and then you take a picture. Like that's a real thing. Like now people would probably protest that, and the comic would write a big blog about it, and that school would be canceled, and they'd have to apologize. But I was like, I guess this is how it is. I guess I don't know. You know, the worst school ever is Illinois State University. Well, no, I'll two. There's one in Iowa. This is how the show's in a basement, and it's part of like. Everybody, they make popcorn and they sit there and watch the thing, right? They have a popcorn machine. The room is probably maybe a little bit bigger than this room. So the popcorn machine's in the corner and I'm on the opposite corner and they're all eating popcorn. And then like halfway through, and I'm not doing well anyway, but this dude just walks over to the popcorn, starts putting the kernels in the thing. And I'm like, shh. And I'm like, hey dude, like it's silent. So I'm like, dude, it's loud as hell. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? He's like, we're out of popcorn, right? I'm like, but dude, I'm in the middle of something. He's like, I'm fucking hungry. And he turns it on. So it just goes. And at that point, you're like, what am I doing, dude? This is stupid. The worst one, Illinois State is the worst school ever. We're in a basketball, it's a lock-in on a Friday night. So they don't want the kids to escape campus, basically. So it's a bunch of freshmen, which always sucks when it's freshmen because they're 18.
They just got out of high school.
They don't know shit. Actually, they think they know shit because they've been around the internet their whole adolescent life. So they think they know everything. So it's a basketball gymnasium. So, you know, obviously the ceiling is super high, right? Folding chairs, kids sitting in there, and you're going through the gym speakers, right? So it's all echoey, and they're yelling stuff and like, we can't understand you. Like I'm like, it's because I'm in the gymnasium. Do you guys know how acoustics work? So I put the mic in the stand. I'm just talking to them, and then it's sucking. I mean, it's shitty. Then this kid comes in and he goes, hey man, there's a Build-A-Bear workshop next door, and it wasn't the whole room, but it was pretty much 85% of the room just files out. So I'm like. So there's like 6 people there, and they were like the students who brought me in. I'm like, okay, so do I got to keep going? What are we doing? Like, they're sitting there staring at me. I'm like, okay, I guess keep going. So just whatever happens, and then 10 minutes later, here come these kids back in with their bears, like in their pajama pants, because it's a lock-in, pajama pants, holding their Build-A-Bear, just sitting there. So I'm performing for a slumber party, just a bunch of kids holding a bear. So I was like, at this point, I was like, fuck it, I'm done. So I just get off, and then the advisor ends up calling my agent and says that I didn't do my 45 minutes. I got up at 40, and that she wanted her money back. I was like, and then so I have to tell my agent what's happening. They have a Build-A-Bear workshop. What do you want me to do? Like, at some point, I'm a human.
Yeah.
You know, if everybody leaves and there's 6 people there, what do you want me to do? Like, and then they all come, they're all talking about their bears. What do you want me to do? I'm not a juggler.
I'm not a machine.
I'm a person
Yeah.
with like emotions. You guys know that, right? Like your bear has no emotions, but I have emotions, and so I had to, and I think we gave 50% of the money back, which still sucks. It's like
for 5 minutes.
it just.
I mean, come on now.
It's their responsibility. They should know that, but again, we're like comics are like the lowest rung of the entertainment pole. I think everybody thinks they can do it, so they don't really value it. You know? I've always thought that, and I've always thought they do that because everybody's made somebody laugh at some point.
Well, and that's why every single person will try to pitch you jokes that you ever meet. Hey, I bet you're gonna do this thing in your little skit, aren't you?
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
not. I talk about interesting stuff on stage.
Yeah, it's a totally different muscle. You know what I mean? It's like you realize after doing stand-up, you realize how unfunny your group of non-comedy friends are.
Yeah,
you know, because they'll laugh at somebody will say like a Borat line from like 15 years ago, and everybody's laughing. I'm like, that's what she said, but that's what they laugh. That's what normal people laugh at. They laugh at Office punchlines and some Adam Sandler line. And we don't even think that way.
Or like Hump Day. Hey, it's Hump Day again. Hey,
and they all laugh about it.
Yeah,
yeah.
Every Wednesday in my office for about 2 years, people would do that, and I'm like, if someone does this again, you're getting written up. Like,
Dude, I've got to the point. I'm so petty to the point of like, let's say we're out for brunch, you see like a table of people like losing their shit laughing. I'm always thinking in my head like, it's not that funny. There's no way in hell anything organically funny came out of that moment. You guys said a movie line or a TV show line. There's nothing funny.
Nothing happened.
Nothing.
No creativity.
There's no way. There's no way. Or they're hacking somebody's line. They're like they're saying like some Louis. I know a guy, a friend of mine, who I'll see him talk to other people. Like if there's a big group of us around, he'll say comedians' punchlines like and not give any credit. Like he'll just throw it in there like he nailed it. And I'm always like, I always want to kick the shit out of him, dude. He does it all the time when I'm not listening. I mean, when he thinks I'm not listening, I'll see him over there talking to girls and like doing this like Mitch Hedberg line. I'm like, what the fuck?
He's like doing your set. Like, you're like,
I wish my set got somebody laid, dude. I wish it got me laid. Should. So.
Dude, have you seen on like now like the new thing on TikTok is?
Oh yeah, lip syncing.
Yeah, lip singing like other like comedy sets.
They lip synced Aaron's.
Did they?
Airport,
okay, that's what I saw. So it happened to somebody.
Yeah, he posted it and he was like, and this dude has way more hits than album sales he ever had for that album, dude. I never understood the point of that though. Like
I don't get it either. Makes no sense.
It feels like it feels wrong, right?
Yeah,
it's wrong.
Because it's not singing. I mean, the reason why you would lip singing is because you can't sing. I can say the words that you said too, but I didn't write them, so it's not. You stole everything that I can do.
Yeah. It sucks. Internet sucks.
Yeah.
I hate the internet. I hate it. I wish it would go away.
Really?
I really wish it would go away.
I would get off of Facebook if I wasn't doing comedy because I use Facebook to book shows.
Yeah, the same thing here. I would totally get off the grid. But then I also judge people who are not on it. I'm like, what are you hiding?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
but I would say on Instagram. Instagram is not the cesspool yet. It'll be there eventually, and I think if I write a joke that is political on Facebook, there will be 14 debates in my comments that don't even include me.
Yeah.
Just like other people fighting, right? But if I do it on Instagram,
nothing.
I just get the like.
Okay.
So it's like, okay, cool. I'll put it on Instagram. Like I had one the other day where I don't know what Trump did, but he did something racist like he does. And I wrote, and I was like, whoa, guys, calm down. That's just locker room racism.
Yeah. Nice.
Right.
Like
and
it.
so that's, but I posted it on Instagram. It's like, you should put that on Facebook. I was like, hell, I ain't putting that on Facebook. I don't have time for my notifications all day to be people just arguing and sharing links and everything like that, because I don't care enough to sit there and have that.
I really try not to engage when people are fun, because I write a lot more racial political stuff on my Facebook than anything. Like I'll live post the debates. And I just do it just to see if any of it works for material. That's literally I try my stuff out. If I can't go to an open mic, I'm just throwing ideas up there, and if they get if they get 40 likes, it's gonna work on it can work on stage, right? So I just do that anyway. And yeah, the amount of fighting in there, I try not to jump in, and every now and then I'll get like a little tipsy, and I'm like, okay, I'm going in, dude. And it just gets intense. And these are people that I know, you know. So I'm like, dude, like just look up just look it up on this site, but like we can't look at that site's biased. I'm like, you're biased. Like that's the problem. You're not. The internet isn't. The internet's just a big thing of opinions. That's all the internet is. That's all Google is.
I'm not a big fan of the whole like, let's agree to disagree thing.
Yeah, I hate that.
I can't stand it too because oftentimes people are doing it on facts.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It's like, here's a fact about something. Well, we're just going to have to agree to disagree.
Yeah.
No, we're not going to because that's a fact. It's not an opinion on here.
But because there's no, I wish there was like this, I wish there were just a fact thing on the internet, like a thing that everybody just agreed. This is where all the facts are.
Yeah.
But it doesn't exist.
I wish there was a moderator on like every Facebook post had like an actual legit It's like, oh nope, actually he's correct, you're wrong, and you know, or whatever. And like maybe there's like a scorecard at the end, like remember like Around the Horn on
I love Around the Horn, man. I love it. But that's the thing about sports, though. You can't argue stats. Now you can argue if you think LeBron is better than you can do that, but the actual stats of how many points this dude scored a game, like they're there. That's it. You can't argue that he didn't score 28 points. Yeah. And we don't have that like on the internet. Like it gets worse. You know, it's getting worse and worse.
We're gonna need it because it's out. I think November 4th or whatever day that this thing gets figured out, it's gonna be just a chaos. I think whichever side wins.
It's definitely not going to be decided on that Tuesday.
No,
that's
of course
for sure.
not.
But I mean, we were in Deep Ellum. I mean, I live a block, 5 minutes away. There's going to be angry people on one side or the other. So I don't think that. I think that's the bigger. That's me. For me is more the bigger concern. Is having to hear or see that kind of stuff going on. Because I noticed it. I don't know if you noticed it. Performing. Have you performed during quarantine at all?
Twice.
Okay.
That's it.
I've been like outright heckled for nothing, and that hasn't happened since like open mic days. For me.
Really?
Yeah, and just like. I was at the Improv 3 weeks ago, right when I got on stage, right? Like I didn't even say a word. I'm just up there, and the dude just starts going. The goon on is like, "Thank you, come again," and he just keeps saying it. Okay, and I'm in a great mood.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't know what to say because I wasn't coming in on the defensive, and plus it's the beginning of. I haven't even said the word, so like I don't want to shit on him right now and then go into my act. Like I don't even know how to handle that. So I was being really nice. I was like, man, I'm actually amazed that. You could tell I was Indian. Most people don't even think that I'm Indian. That I was going to go start segueing into material,
jokes,
right?
Yeah.
And then he kept going. He just kept. Then he started. He kept doing. He just kept going, and like to a point where I just stood there and waited. He just kept going, and to where Sean, the manager of the Improv, he had to go up and tell the dude to be quiet. And then so he's finally quiet, and I'm like, okay, that's awkward. Now, all right, now I don't know how to start a set, and I'm saying this in the microphone. I don't even know what to do now. And then I started getting, in my head, I'm getting mad. No, I'm like, oh, now you can't say anything? And I became that dude. So it was just awkward all the way around. It just sucked. But I never felt, people feel empowered to say stuff now that they wouldn't have felt empowered before. And just because they copy whoever the leader is in office, they just copy that behavior. Yeah. You copy who's successful at it. I mean, whether you liked Trump or not, he was successful in becoming a president at that. He was successful at becoming that. So they just like, okay, well, if he's successful, then I guess you can just be that.
Yeah, I can just say whatever I want.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so it just gets worse,
My show, I did the Improv like 2 or 3 weeks ago as well, and I had this lady that just wouldn't shut up. I mean, but I don't even know what she was saying.
Okay.
She just kept talking during every time. Like she wanted to be a part of it. Okay. And so I would start talking and she went, hi, or whatever, and I just keep talking. And she was doing that to the people that were in front of me too. Yeah. So finally I was like, you want to be a part of this really bad. Yeah, I was like, I'm not going to let it happen, girl. Yeah. I'm not going to let it. And I just kept talking over her. But I hadn't noticed that as much. Yeah. Going,
I definitely noticed because I hang out after shows, which maybe I shouldn't hang out after shows, and so audience members come up to hang out all the time, which is fine. That's how I got people to come to shows. It's like, hey, you like this show? Come to this show. Definitely, white people are more comfortable talking about racial issues than they ever have before. Like they have any authority to say it, but they feel very upfront with what they believe is right about racism, or not right about racism, but right about racial. And I'm like, just don't. The joke I say on stage is like, how about you not talk about racism with me and I won't discuss Game of Thrones with you? Like that's our trade-off. That's all I know. I'm not going to talk about your shit. You don't talk about my shit. Because I get so much stuff from not every day, but like from people after shows saying like, so is it really that bad for you racially? Like not like in an inquisitive way. It's like you're exact. It's not really that shitty. I'm like, it's not shitty, but you can't sit there and deny that I've been through stuff.
That you've had issues. Yeah,
I've had issues before. You know.
I was doing. I did Stillwater in January.
Okay.
And I think it was the Saturday after we bombed Iran.
Okay.
Right? like
Okay.
4 days later, right?
Okay.
And I usually at the beginning of my set I'll talk about being Iranian.
Yeah.
Like that's like my first like 3 or 4 minutes most shows. And my wife was like, I don't want you doing those jokes, in Stillwater. Like she's like, if you were somewhere else where it was a little bit more diverse.
How would you compare what city in Texas is Stillwater like? What would be the comparison? Because there's a university there, right?
Yeah, Oklahoma State.
Okay.
It's like a Lubbock-ish
Gotcha.
type, or
Okay.
like a very.
How many Applebee's are there?
There's probably 2 or 3. You know,
Okay.
it's I don't know, man. It's very whitewashed. I don't know much about the city, but
Okay.
it's a small town that has a university in it.
Gotcha.
And it's the university, if I'm not mistaken, they're like an ag university as well. Like they're like one of their nicknames, Oklahoma State Aggies, even though they're Cowboys. You know, so
They're trying to keep evereverybody in Stillwater.
Yeah.
If you graduate, they want to keep
you stay
in
in Stillwater. You don't move out of Stillwater.
Yeah.
So it's man. So she's like, I don't want you doing those jokes. Like, don't do those jokes. Don't do those jokes. I think it's gonna be bad for you or whatever. Especially just like what happened. It's like I'm gonna do the jokes. Like I'm not worried about it too bad. So what I did is I got some George Washington socks for like a wedding gift that I was like grooms, like they'll give you a gift for being a groomsman or whatever. For my brother-in-law's my sister's wedding, her husband gave us like these George Washington socks. So I wore those for that show.
Okay.
So like I was like, I'm Iranian American. I was like, we're on the same team. Look, I even have George Washington socks. So that like.
And it worked?
Yeah. And they died laughing at that. And then that put me, and I was like, hey, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I was really uncomfortable about doing these jokes. Yeah. But hey, you guys like George Washington? I like George Washington.
Okay, that's funny.
Let's
that's
do
awesome.
this.
That's awesome.
But yeah, man, it is.
Like I have jokes about Black Lives Matter and I have jokes about All Lives Matter. Like what I realize is I just have to make fun of both sides.
Yeah.
But I easily anticipate at some point I'm going to say something. I mean, I do jokes about white privilege, and I say it, and I'm waiting for somebody to just not hear the rest of the joke and interrupt. I'm kind of baiting the audience in that sense. They've never said anything because that's how I know the joke works. Is you can feel the tension in the room when I say Black Lives Matter, and you can feel the tension in the room when I say All Lives Matter. But I shit on both sides,
Yeah.
But that's the only way it works. I mean, I don't want to. On stage, what I realize is I don't want to take a one-sided opinion on something like that because it's always going to alienate people at some point. And in the end, it tends to not be comedy if you take one side, because the whole thing with comedy is you have to find the bullshit on both sides, not just, of course everybody knows racism is wrong. Everybody knows that. Like that's just debate blank. That you can say that, but like I've seen comic just bash people who voted for Trump and it's 30 minutes of that. It's
you can't do that.
It's like it's not comedy at that point. At that point, you just have an agenda and you don't know how to explain it. Do you know what I mean? So I like that I can bash both sides of it. It just takes more work to bash both sides because obviously I believe that Black Lives Matter. Like I'm on that side.
Yeah.
But I need to find the bullshit in it so I can make fun of the bullshit because the All Lives Matter shit's so easy to fucking fuck with.
Yeah, you can make fun of that all day.
Yeah.
I got told online like 2 or 3 years ago by a coworker. Okay. And I have like a management position, so this is someone that I'm technically one of their bosses.
So is this one of the people that yelled hump day all the time?
Probably. More than likely, right? More than likely to if I didn't like it, to go back where I came from.
You said this online?
Yeah, online to me on the status I was talking about the kneeling.
Okay.
Right? And I don't remember exactly what I said, but it was like something like, if you've never had a parent, like a person that you've dated, say something like along the lines like, well, you can't be with them because they're not white, blah, blah, blah. Like, it might be hard for you to understand. Like, and I had this whole like long thing, most people, didn't argue with me. I wasn't looking for an argument. I was just trying to say my, how it is. And this lady was like, come on now, that's not what they're doing. And I was like, and I wouldn't, she wanted me to argue with her, but I wouldn't argue with her. I just kept saying stuff like, I think you're confused or whatever, blah, blah. And so finally she just goes, if you don't like it, just go back where you came from.
Yeah.
And I go, I'm from Carrollton. I was like, I already live there. No thanks.
That's so funny.
And she just kept going on. And then it turned into everybody just shitting on her and her fighting with everybody. And then she got called into HR, and
Oh, really?
they didn't fire her, but
So how was it when you saw her after she posted that stuff? Was it tense?
no, because what happened is just about every black person in my office, like, bullied her
Okay.
in the office.
Okay.
Where it was like,
Because they saw it?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
And so they, like, I mean, that day, like, people coming into my office, like,
that's
dapping me
dope.
up like crazy.
Oh,
and I was
that's
like,
so
I think
funny.
I won a Nobel Peace Prize.
That's
you
so
know?
funny, yeah.
Like, whatever. And so she doesn't work there anymore, but she ended up, it wasn't awkward. She ended up coming to my office and apologizing to me. I was like, hey, it's not a big deal. I was like, don't worry about it. But
What was she? Okay. What did she blame it on? Was she going through other stuff in life? Was it one of those things?
no, she just was like, I just sometimes, she didn't say anything.
Okay.
Like, she gave no reasoning behind, and I just forgave her immediately because I didn't want the drama of it. You know what I mean? Because to me, it was over with, and I wasn't really that offended by it. I turned it into a joke. So
Have you noticed this? I've noticed that I think, based off my Facebook, friends on my Facebook, obviously outside of the comics, I think I'm a lot of my white friends' only brown friend. Do you know what I mean? Like the way they talk to me, it's like, but you're not that. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm their own. Like I feel like I'm I'm their go-to.
yeah,
I'm like, I always say it like this way. I have a friend who's very anti-immigration, but I went to elementary school with him. He loves me to death, but he's like this big old good country boy. How I explain on stage is like he would build the wall, but he'd keep a brick loose so I could like shimmy out. Like that's him.
yeah.
But it feels, especially with all the riots and looting and everything that's going on, like when I say something, when I see on my Facebook feed, I'm like, do these guys not know that like I'm brown? Like,
Yeah.
like we've hung out. I've given these guys tickets to shows. We've like hung out at games together. Like, did you always have those thoughts inside, or what was I? Was I the brown friend that you could tell your other friends? Well, I got this Indian friend, and then you can talk about racist Indian shit. Like, I'm sure you've realized at some point that with some of your white friends, you're their brown friend, right?
Well,
you're their Middle Eastern friend.
Yeah, maybe, but dude, it's a hard thing, and I've came to this realization over the last couple of years. Like, I always considered myself white.
Okay.
And I think one reason of that is my mom is from Louisiana.
Okay.
Right. My dad's from Iran, but a lot of Iranians consider themselves Caucasian. Like, in the
Really?
technical terms, Iranians are Caucasian.
Yeah, Aryan, right?
Yeah, Aryan,
Yeah,
right?
okay.
So in technical terms, but the outside world doesn't look at you like that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So
exactly.
so perception is law,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
If someone perceives something a certain way, that's what it is.
Yeah.
So it took me until the last few years to really be like, yeah, you're not white, dude. Like, no one, like, it might be on paper you are, but no one walking down the street is saying that's a white dude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, does he look typical Iranian? Does he
My
have-
dad?
Yeah.
Yeah, my dad does.
Does he have like the funky mustache and shit? Or did he shave it? He had it at some point.
He's had a mustache off and on my entire life.
Okay.
You know, but he looks Iranian for sure, and we look alike. But I don't think I look like straight Iranian. I mean, I don't know, dude. But I definitely don't look white. Like, I don't look like a white dude. So
Until you shave your back, you're like, yeah, I'm Iranian.
yeah, well, yeah.
That's definitely 100%.
Yeah.
I'm Louisiana right here.
Yeah, Louisiana
Oh, shit,
front.
this is Iranian
Iranian
on
in
the
the
back,
back, yeah.
literally on the back. That's funny. You should use that. You should use that.
I will.
It's funny.
I'll definitely use that. Man, so okay, growing up, were you? I know what your answer is gonna be, but I want to hear you say it. Were you class clownish or shy kid?
Shy. Completely
kid?
shy. Yeah. Completely shy. I
When
was
did you show your humor off though? Like,
maybe once a year I'd say something in class, everybody would laugh their ass off. I'd live off that high for months.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? In hindsight, that's what it was. Because my dad was always like, if you don't have anything to say, don't say anything. That was just kind of how I was raised. Not in an angry way. He was like, if you can't contribute to a conversation, don't just keep your mouth shut. And I'm like, okay. So I really had no opinion. I had nothing to say.
that's probably helped you though with comedy though, because now you don't do all the filler shit. You just get to your jokes.
I mean,
right?
I have a couple of jokes where I don't say a word on stage. I'll just say the premise, and the punchline is completely nonverbal. But it's totally from that. My dad was always like, never waste your words. Like, I don't know. He was just how we were raised. You know.
What's the joke that you have? And I mean, you don't have to do bits on here. I'm not asking you to do bits,
That's
but
fine.
about the silence. You have one where it's like you're rolling up a window or something.
Yeah, about how homeless guy begging to a dude in a convertible.
Yeah.
Because I saw it happen on Mockingbird, actually. Mockingbird 75, just some rich dude sitting there, and this dude just, crackhead, just dancing right there, and he's just trying to look straight ahead. I'm like, dude, you got nothing. You got no barrier right there. And he was like tapping him on the shoulder and shit. I was like, that's the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life, dude. Yeah, so that whole joke is 2 minutes of me just being the homeless, the homeless guy, and then the dude in the car.
Yeah,
but,
and you don't say anything, right? Most of it's an act out.
Yeah, and that's the joke that got me a lot of stuff as far as like festivals and all these things, because it's completely different than stand up. It's not really, it's stand up, but it's not really. I'm not saying anything, so like, it just sticks out. But yeah.
Yeah. So you're a shy kid. You
Super
bring
shy.
out the Are you funny at home? Like like with your family.
My
Since you're more
family's
comfortable?
my family is way more. My cousins are way funnier than me. All my cousins are way funnier on both sides, on my mom and my dad's side. They're just wittier. They're sharp. They're
So
really
were they
sharp.
like, when you said you were gonna do stand up, were they just like,
Same
what the?
thing. Well, some of them were like, dude, we're like the funniest dudes. Like, we're funnier than you. I'm like, yeah, I know, dude, but what else am I gonna do? Like, I mean, you're not doing it. If you were doing it, maybe you'd make money. I don't know. Like, they're almost like so funny. Like, they don't need to prove on stage. Like, they're those dudes.
What were you in? Did you play sports growing up?
Well, the very first, I tried to play, but I wasn't good at them.
Okay,
Like,
so
my best friend was really good at basketball.
Really good at basketball?
Yeah, like meaning like I didn't know what a crossover was. He did it to me all the time. That's how I found out. That's how I found out, dude. When I was playing basketball, because I would always play in my backyard. My dad got a hoop. It was a big deal for us to have a hoop. And I just shoot out there, and my dad would come out and try to play horse with me. My dad's like 5'5", you know, like he does the grandma shots and whatever. That's all we play. I mean, and that's all I knew. Like, my dad's going to teach me how to cross over. Your dad teaches you these moves. They're supposed to teach you how to throw a football, and hey, you can dribble with your left hand too. Well, I'm right-handed, so I'm just going to do that. And then my friend comes over, and I'm playing against him for the first time, and he just rocked me, and I was like, "What? You were right there, dude!" And he was already there, and. Like, I didn't know that stuff. And I wasn't like, okay, well, I got to learn how to do it. I mean, I tried to learn how to do it.
Yeah.
But he can, like, walk and dribble between his legs. It was so simple for him. He was just that dude, you know?
So
So when I see that, I'm like, okay, well, that's why I'm not playing sports. Because that dude I can't learn that, like, what he's doing.
Yeah.
I can do a shitty imitation of it, but he was, he was good. I mean, he's not good anymore, but he was.
How long was he good for?
I mean, probably.
Was he a good high school basketball player?
No, he never. That's the thing is, Indian kids didn't.
Oh, he
do
was an
that.
Indian kid. Okay.
Yeah. Indian kids never did that. You don't go out for sports. It's just something you don't do.
You know what's funny about that? And now that you say that, I remember that because when I was growing up, I'm a little bit younger than you. I remember none of the Indian kids playing any sports at all. But then there was like this wave at the like when I was like 16 or 17 where we would go play pickup and there'd be all these Indian kids there. And I'm like, whoa, I didn't know Indian dudes played basketball.
So we'll play we're not going to play on the team.
Yeah.
But we'll play like in on a park. I mean, there's good Indian dudes that can play, but you just don't. It was just understood. You don't try out for high school sports or junior high sports.
Okay, so the podcast is called Back in the Day.
Yeah.
Right. We talk about stuff, and each season. I'm going to have a different theme. This season, I'm talking about like your greatest athletic achievement. Or it can be your greatest athletic achievement or your favorite athletic achievement.
Favorite? I don't know. Greatest is hard. Because not that I have so many to pick from. I don't know it.
Yeah.
I took a spin class.
Okay.
I took it for a few months before COVID hit. My girlfriend talked me into going to Soul Cycle, which I didn't know what Soul Cycle was. I don't know if you've ever done it, but it's like it's push-ups while you're pedaling. It sounds kind of simple, but it's really not. So you're like standing up, pedaling, and then you lunge into and the worst part is they're playing like EDM music. That's the worst part of all of it. Like the pain is auditory and physical at the same time. But you do that, and I'm the only dude there, only straight dude there for sure.
And you're doing push-ups and
pedaling.
And
you do
pedaling.
that for like I think 35, 40 minutes.
What weird contraption are you on? It's like
you're on a bike, but your feet are locked into the pedals. It's like this special kind of shoe. And I did that because my girlfriend used to be a collegiate swimmer at Rice. So she had a full ride scholarship to Rice. She'd been swimming since she was a kid. And so like working out and stuff is just like it's in her DNA. Like she just knows how to do stuff, you know. So like I'm not that dude, and so I always didn't want to do stuff with her because I don't like I'm barely holding onto my man card as is. I don't want to lose all credibility.
She's just crushing you and everything that you're doing.
Yeah, like and she would love it. She would be great for her. but not for me. Like I'm too old to feel embarrassed. Does that
Yeah.
make sense? Like I feel like you're supposed to get embarrassed in college and high school, and then you graduate. It's like you become an adult. It's like
For a couple of years after that, you can be embarrassed, but at this age,
but for the most part, it's like when you're an adult. Oh, remember that thing of like in high school and college, like that's just a different time, and it gets better when you're an adult. So so I don't want to go, and I already get embarrassed on stage if a joke bombs. Like we're already doing that anytime we go up. There's always that risk of that. So why would I want to do on my off day when I'm not getting paid to be embarrassed? Now I got to go here and do that stuff. So I'm always in the back. I was always in the back. And every now and again, like you could see like the instructor like making eye contact, like kind of judging me because I can do it, but I can't do it. Like these dudes are like killing it, dude.
yeah, that sounds terrible.
It's awful.
Yeah.
But I did that for a few months and COVID hit. And so gyms were all closed.
You're like, thank God.
I mean, look, I'll be honest. I ate the bat. I flew down to China, ate the bat, spit it out, and brought it back here, dude. Because I was like,
gotta figure something out.
yeah, I can't. I mean, we already paid for the membership. I'm like, I gotta shut the gym. I gotta shut.
How do we
everything
get this thing closed?
I will take full responsibility for bringing COVID. You can put it on if this thing goes viral.
Okay.
Because I did not want to go. But then she bought a Soul Cycle.
So you're like no way out of it.
So here's the funny thing: she bought a Soul Cycle. It's in the house, okay? And she was like, "Well, now you can do it whenever you want." I'm like, "I'm not gonna do it in front of you." Like, like she went to Montana, and she's from Montana, so she went to go visit. And there's part of me. I'm sitting there with the dog. I'm sitting there like, I should do it now. Nobody's here. But even then, the dog, like, I'm like, I'll get on there and I'll try to like, but I don't have the shoes, which helps. So I couldn't really do it. But like, I don't want to work out in front of her. Nobody wants to work on someone that they're trying to impress. I mean, we've been together 5 years. I'm still trying to impress her. I think that's a good thing. You know, I don't know. Maybe, who knows? Yeah,
no, I think it's a good thing. You don't want to ever lose like the whole like I'm not trying to make my significant other think I'm cool.
Dude, I killed the bugs in the house. If there's a roach, that's that's the manliest moment. Like. Because she doesn't want to do it.
Yeah,
she
let him
freaks
know.
out. And so at that point, she's like, okay, at the least, I need him here to kill bugs. But if I'm doing Soul Cycle and she's like watching me like, half push up to Jamiroquai and like, can you go in the other room?
Yeah, please stop looking at me.
And don't look at my times. Can we turn this thing off?
Yeah, really. Like, can you just go for a walk, something, please get out of here.
I don't think any couple wants to work out together unless they're both already in shape or they're both completely out of shape.
Yeah, no, for sure. I wouldn't want to. My wife she's in shape, but she doesn't work out that often.
Yeah.
So if she was in shape, like one of those people that works out constantly, I wouldn't want to work out with her.
Yeah.
Huffing and puffing and she's just like crushing it. No, heck no.
Dude, I can't swim. So fun fact, a lot of Indian kids born and raised here can't swim. Okay. And not that they have like not like we have webbed feet or anything. Like our parents won't take us swimming because they think like the pools are dirty and stuff like that. So a lot of us don't swim. My girlfriend got a full ride scholarship to Rice for swimming. And so when she found out I don't swim, I'm like, Indian people, I'm not a stereotype. The Indian kids here don't swim, And so anytime she meets any of my friends, she's like, let me ask you real quick. Can you swim? No. So she kind of figured it out. She's like, well, why don't I just teach you how to swim? I'm like, the relationship's dead at that point, right? Right? If she's holding me up like this.
Yeah, mom-son relationship now. Right?
Kick your feet. And I'm not scared of water. I'm not jump in a pool and die. But I'm not going to, if my kid ends in the 8-foot part, I'm like, okay, we're fishing for kids.
Have you ever seen any videos, or maybe have you ever heard of Imler Swim School? Okay, it's like a kid's. Okay. All I can think about is your girlfriend teaching you like this. So Imler Swim School is for like 6 months old up until they're like 5, and they probably have for older stuff. So my kids did that.
Yeah.
And so what they're doing at the first class is like water babies.
Okay.
And so it's like you in there with the kid, right?
Oh.
And so it's like, and all you're doing for an hour is you just like playing these games with them, and like you're holding them like motorboat, like tick tock.
Yeah.
I can just see her, you
totally.
getting held by your girlfriend. She's like trying to get you comfortable with the water, and you're doing all the.
Dude, she told me like you should learn as a survival skill, but I'm like, but we're just not going to go anywhere near where I'm going to need that, Yeah. Like now she wants to start going camping. She wants to sit out and like in the. But I'm like, okay, but I just don't want to risk somebody going downstream because I can't do shit. Like the dogs don't swim either.
Yeah.
you know? And like, if my dog decided all of a sudden, if he started swimming, I'm not going to get him back, dude. He's at White Rock. He's gone, dude. I'm gonna be yelling out treats. That's all I'm gonna be yelling like. He's a labradoodle.
Yeah.
Once they hit the water, I've seen them. They just go. They're gone. So.
Are you guys doing camping like the whole thing? Are you doing glamping or camping?
Well, we did a glamping kind of thing where we were in a cabin, like in a, you know.
So you stayed in.
Yeah, but she wants to start doing it. But I like. Here's the other thing. And I don't know. Maybe this is a cultural thing. I don't know if your parents would be like this. I don't want to. I feel like anything kind of risky and adventurous is probably going to lead to like an injury or death. And I know my family will never let me live. Like Travis knows my cousin really well. She would never let me live it down. If I bungee jumped and I died, the first thing she would be, he knows her. She would be like, the fuck was he bungee jumping for? It wasn't like Paul he was facing his fears.
He just lived life to the fullest,
Dude,
right?
If I drowned, my mom would be like, he can swim. Why would he go in the water? That's the first thing my mom would say. We specifically, we know he can't swim. Why would he be in the water?
I just don't have any desire to sleep outside.
I don't either.
I like all the other stuff that goes with camping, so
Yeah.
I'm down for the glamping. Like we want to light a fire, you want to go for some nature walks, all that type. You want to go in the lake, cool. Let's do all that. But the sleeping outside, like I've worked really hard to not have to sleep outside.
Yeah.
So it's like if you see me sleeping outside, that's a sign of like shit hit the fan. Like you know, like I lost my job.
I also like love horror movies, and there's so many in the woods horror movies. There's one called Backcountry, which is about a bear that stalks these two people, and he disembowels the boyfriend while the girl's watching. I'm like, why would I go camping now?
Yeah.
Why would I do that? That would happen to me.
No, don't take me camping ever. I mean, like I said, glamping, I'll do that all day,
Yeah.
every day. But the whole camping thing, sleeping outside on rocks and whatever it is that you're sleeping on.
I went to go see her in Montana because we were there for a wedding, and she's from there. I didn't know bear spray was a thing. It was like $75 for bear spray to spray at the bear. Should we see him? I'm like, is it that much of a problem? Like, why don't we just not hang out where the bears are? I mean, do they come into like if we're at a Buffalo Wild Wings, it's just like a bear just gonna walk in? I don't know how bears work.
I need a bear whistle, like I need a rape whistle. You know? Like,
Yeah, like I can't go out like that, dude. You know?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe I'm not being. And that's if I have a kid. I'm gonna have to be the adventurous dad, right? He's gonna have to learn how to swim. If my kids can swim and I can't swim, that's gonna be an issue.
Y'all go to Imler and take lessons together. You know?
Oh yeah. Oh, you're right. I could pretend like I'm the dad.
Yeah,
like,
that you're doing.
but secretly I'm like writing in my notebook. I'm like, okay, well let's all do this together. Yeah, you're right. Maybe I should have the kid just
for you to learn to swim.
Yeah.
And not have to like get any shame by it.
Yeah, that's an expensive ass swimming lesson, but
Dude, swimming. Yeah. The lessons itself and they get you going, man. Me and my buddy, we did the swim lessons together, right? Like our kids did them together.
Good.
And we went for like 3 years, and I think they're still going. And we haven't gone in 2 or 3 years. They're still going.
Can your kid swim though?
Yeah, she can swim fine, but she didn't need. I mean, it turns into more. You're just going for the social thing, I think.
Yeah.
And we were laughing. I was like, they're gonna be like, how long do they keep telling us we need to keep going? Like they're gonna be like 16 on their way to prom or whatever. Like, hold on, I got motorboat. Like, you know, like I got
Motorboat. You definitely didn't go past the third class.
Yeah, whatever it's called.
Motorboat. I know they have kickboards. I've seen the kickboards.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, dude. Yeah. See, if I had, yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I can go to a pool party. I'm fine. I just don't need to
stand.
You know, and that's the thing is I didn't realize in high school, because in high school I get invited to pool parties, but I wouldn't go because I thought people were just doing laps like it's the Olympics. And really, everybody just hanging out, drinking,
standing. Right.
I had no idea. I was like, I can't go. I mean, what if I fall in? I'm just trying to save myself from embarrassment. I think that's how I'm going to raise my kid. Just don't get embarrassed.
Don't get
dude.
embarrassed.
It sucks. Because it ruins your confidence forever. You always think about that moment. You know?
So you didn't play sports growing up. You played like pickup stuff, but you're a big time sports fan, right?
Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
So Mavericks, Cowboys, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And you didn't you get to perform for Dirk?
Yeah, he came to a show the year they won the finals. The year before they won the finals, he came to a show. And we just ended up becoming friends off that. So anytime he was out, I'd come say hi, whatever. And then he won the championship. Him and the team came to a show like 2 weeks later at the Improv. And then I was friends with his wife, and she asked me to come perform at his birthday party over in the Design District. So it was me. It's weird because it's this long table, and everybody that's in his circle has been in his circle since he moved here, since he was 18. I'm the newest person in the circle. I mean, I just met him a year ago. So nobody really knows who I am, but it's this big, we're going to this place. It's a big, long kind of like Last Supper type table. And it's like a couple of the players, a couple of the training staff, and then like his Holger invited some people. There's like a couple of Nobel Peace Prize winners. Mark Stein's there, you know, he lives in Carrollton.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, he's there. And so I'm coming in and I'm like, okay, I guess I have to sit at this table. It's just this long table. Then there's the head table. And Dirk didn't know I was performing. And he sees me and he like waves me over. And because they had to tell him because there was a empty chair there. I'm at the head table. So it's him, his wife, Holger, Mike Madonna, and me. I'm like, okay, this is odd. So I'm just sitting there and they're watching me walk past them. You know, like all these Nobel Peace Prize winners, all his friends from back in the day. I'm walking by JJ Barea and I'm just sitting. I'm like who the hell's this guy?
Yeah, why is he up here?
And she wanted me to do stand up for him. So because he had seen me do shows anyway, so I did a set in front of him. Like half the crowd had their back to me because they were. I told you it was like this Last Supper thing. I ended up making fun of one of the dudes because he just wasn't laughing at anything, and it turns out that was the Nobel Peace Prize winner. Because he didn't understand English. Yeah. And I didn't know that until the article came out. You know, because if you Google my name and Dirk's name together, it shows it's the article that Mark Stein wrote about the birthday
party.
Yeah, and you see all these names, and I was talking to one of our mutual friends, me and Dirk's mutual friend, and I was like, so who was the person, like, who were those dudes that were laughing? I'm like, that's the dude in the article. That's the Nobel Peace. I'm like, shit, okay, all right. You don't speak English anyway, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's an awkward party. I mean, you're trying to do stand up, but these guys are like way out of my tax bracket.
Did you write jokes for that, or did you do your normal set?
I talked about how awkward everything was for me and stuff, and then I just did my normal stuff. I mean, they're all, once you're in that circle, especially at that level, like they know if you're there that he invited you there. It's not like you just crash the party and it's random. So it's very those kind of circles are like so tight. So like if you're in, they know you're in. Yeah, you're officially in. So and I was a fan of the Mavs before that stuff. I mean, then you meet him. If you know anybody that's met him, I mean, you know Ben Skinner, obviously. Yeah, have met him. He's a great dude, and it's not like hyperbole because he's in Dallas and I'm a fan. He's like just a naturally great dude. Like
that's what everyone says.
He just happens to play basketball, if that makes any sense. Like that's his job, but it's not who he is, if that makes any sense. And he loves stand up, so he will talk. First time I met him, all he wanted to talk about was stand up because he loves Ron White, and we're just talking about that. And I don't ask him anything about basketball because I don't care. Like what am I gonna apply with that knowledge? You know what I mean? So how do you cross over?
So my friend in third grade was really good at crossing. How do I defend that next time he decides to do that to me?
Yeah. So what am I going to do? So we just talk about regular stuff, you know. I mean, I haven't seen him. And once he had the kids, I haven't seen him in years. But like when I would go to games, if I'm sitting close by, I can always like just do this and he'll see like stuff like that. But it's not like we talk every day or anything, you know. But yeah, huge Cowboys fan. It's just really heartbreaking for him. But actually performed for the Cowboys. Their rookie class when Sean Lee was a rookie.
Okay.
They used to do a Cowboys kind of post-game show at not post-game show, but like a weekly show at the Improv in Arlington. They would like tape a show, then afterwards they'd have a comic come out and perform, and that was Sean Lee's rookie class because they brought all of those rookies. They'd all sit in the front row. He didn't laugh at shit I said.
No.
Yeah. So I've always kind of like.
You're glad he gets injured?
I kind of cursed him. I mean, I was like, man, and I didn't even know he was good at that point. You know, I'm like, that motherfucker didn't laugh. Oh, that's Sean Lee. Yeah, fuck him. And then look at him, chronic
little brittle bones.
Yeah, yeah. I bought a Sean Lee jersey. I just cut a part of it every game. I don't think he's even coming back.
I don't know. I mean, he's on the team, right?
Why would he?
I wouldn't come back. I wouldn't play.
Yeah.
I mean, not this season. This is gonna be bad,
and
they might win the division,
which I'm fine with. I just want to get to the playoffs. Just get. You know, for me, it's like I just want to, you know, when they were kicking ass in the 90s, I wasn't cognizant enough to appreciate it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because, like, by the time I figured out sports, you know, I was like 15, 16. They were already winning. So I was like, so I guess this is just what happens. And then you start to become an adult and you're like, you're traveling. Now you're traveling. You know, I think once I started traveling, I became a bigger, like, local sports homer because you're on the road. You know, you're sitting at a Buffalo Wild Wings on Sunday. You're the only in Green Bay. They give you that one little TV for the Cowboys game. I'm sitting there watching Romo, and people are telling you like that guy. I'm like, I'm just watching.
Yeah, just watch my game, please.
Yeah, and I'm in the corner. I mean, literally, there's me watching the Cowboys in Green Bay. But so you become even more of a like, I really want them to win, but you know they let you down every time. So it's sad, but whatever.
All right, I'm gonna let you tell us one more cool story. What's the is the Chappelle gig the coolest gig you got to do, or would you say other stuff, something else?
Coolest gig. I used to open for Joan Rivers the last year she was alive. I did the last 4 shows that she did. So we did Austin, Seattle, someplace right outside, a casino right outside of Seattle, a casino in Biloxi, Mississippi, and then we did someplace in upstate New York. We're going to be in New Jersey the next week. That's the week she fell into the coma.
Okay.
But that was easily the most fun. I mean, I've worked with Russell a bunch, and went to India and the Middle East with Gabriel. But Joan Rivers is like, and Chappelle was obviously cool, but Joan Rivers is like next level. I never thought I would have that opportunity. I mean, when do you ever get to think you're going to get to do that, So I met her. I did a show for her in Austin. Then she decided she liked me enough. She just took me with her. And she's great. I mean, she announces the show at the beginning. She announces you on stage. Her voice is so unique. Yeah. So like right when the lights drop, she goes, "How are you doing, you assholes?" And everybody goes crazy. And then she introduced me out. I do like, you have to do 15 minutes completely G-rated clean, which is fine. I've been training my whole life for this moment. You know what I mean? So, and you do that and it kills. And then she comes up and does her hour. It's the most offensive set ever.
You're doing nothing G-rated and she are doing nothing but G-rated and she's going.
Yeah, and she does it on purpose, which I get.
Yeah.
But it is ever. I mean, and I have a really thick skin with stuff. I wasn't offended by it, but it is like she opens by saying every single racial and homophobic slur. Like she opens, let's just get it all out the way, and she just goes alphabetically down the list. Boom, 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 boom. Place goes nuts. They are losing their shit. The front row is all really, really old people, and a lot of people like in wheelchairs and stuff, because she's like been around since the 60s, 50s, something like that. So people just can't believe they're seeing her. I mean, like with Chappelle, like people are obviously big fans and they go crazy. Like Joan Rivers, they're like in awe. They can't believe that she's actually there. And so there's people that are crippled in the front row, got like the straw wheelchairs and stuff, like sitting there, right? And she spends like 5 minutes. She has a 5-minute chunk about how she hates crippled people. She's like, because my ex-husband, he was in a wheelchair. Fuck wheeling him around. She's like pushing the stool around. How many ramps are in this place? Like that. She just keeps, it's just bitches. They're losing their stuff, like hitting the keyboards, ha, ha, ha. I mean, they're losing it. I'm like, what the hell? This is like, if I said that, they'd run over me.
Yeah.
I don't know what, like, it was mind blowing how much they love her,
Is it, okay, when you're opening for like those type of acts, are they giving you the attention or are they just like ready for the person they came?
I mean, if you dick around, they're gonna start saying stuff. Yeah. You have to come in like from the get-go full throttle.
Yeah, because I saw you open for Chappelle.
Yeah.
What was that, 2012?
12 or 13, yeah.
And you destroyed that. But I mean...
So, and that gig is what got me House of Blues, because I used to headline House of Blues. Like for the next 3 years after that, I was doing shows every few months there. But that's the moment that got me on there. But I knew because of working with Russell and Gabriel, like they come for those guys, obviously. Angela Johnson, they come for them. So you have to come out like boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
And Joan Rivers is the same thing, because Joan Rivers has a very loud audience. Like they're ready for her. They'll scream her name out randomly. You just have to plow through it and do your stuff. And she hates it when people yell stuff in the crowd. She'll even say it. Like if anybody says anything during my show, they get kicked out. But I mean, she has a huge gay following. So they're just screaming everything. And it's fine. As long as you don't slam them, you just, hey, this is my G-rated set. I'm doing, and she watches me. She sits in the wings and watches. So,
yeah,
and who knows if she had still been alive, I don't know where. I've always kind of wondered like where we would have been. Like, would we still be touring? Would I be riding with her? I mean, I don't know, because we got along really well. I mean, but she has an entourage around her, man. Like I said, with Chappelle, it's him and his road manager. Joan Rivers got her accountant. She's got a hair lady. She traveled. They have an orchestra every single time. Like,
oh wow,
she doesn't travel with them, but they're there in every city. It's just a different level of stuff. And she could have totally kicked so many doors in for me. You know, had that been, and because we're such a contrast. I mean, we don't look like we hang out together. You know what I mean? We don't look like we'd even get along.
Yeah.
So I always wondered what that was, because she was been at right the second to last show. She was talking about me going to LA to help her write stuff for her e-stuff for her e-show, which I would totally move. If somebody offered me a job like that, I'm like, yeah, I'll be out there, because then I have a reason to be there.
Yeah, there's a purpose for it.
As opposed to, I'm going to go hit the open mics for a few years and hope something like, I don't want that, dude. I'd rather enjoy where I'm at. You know what I mean?
For sure. Did you said she had a big gay following. Yeah. Did you do your Chick-fil-A?
Yes, I did.
Did that destroy?
Yeah. So that joke again is slamming both sides of the coin. I'm saying I'm anti Chick-fil-A, and I'm also saying I'm pro Chick-fil-A. And it took me forever to write that joke, because, with comics, we don't know what the line is. Like what's offensive to us is really offensive to people. What's not offensive to me is offensive to people. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know the line. I have to, like, that's what the mics are for. I have to cross that line to know, oh, okay, I can't say that.
Yeah.
I just got to take it a step back. But yeah, that's one of my favorite jokes it took me forever to write it, but to bash gay marriage and to be for gay marriage is like, I like that. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I do that in front of it. Like, I mean, if I do a joke about black people or like I do a joke about police brutality, about how it's only more relevant now because of the cameras. Like back in the day, I do a whole act out of like the disposable click, and then the Polaroid and stuff, like, hey, when I developed this in 2 weeks at Hecklers, you're fucked, like that.
Get ready.
Get ready. Exactly. I got to finish the role, but like next Saturday, so I do that. When I wrote that joke, I was like, I got to do that in front of a black crowd, because if they like it, then the joke works, because white crowds are way more forgiving.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about white people. I'm talking about black people. So I don't want to seem like I'm bashing it. So when I started doing there and they were loving it, I was like, okay, I'm set. Same thing with the Chick-fil-A stuff. I was like, if I'm going to say it, I mean, there's no gay open mic that I can go to where I can go practice on that. So when I'm here, I'm like, this is the perfect, if this joke is going to eat shit, this is where it dies. This is where the joke dies, if it's going to die. But it didn't. So it's I love jumping into the belly of the beast with that stuff.
Nice, man.
That's the only swimming I do.
It was when you're going. Well, Paul, this has been a lot of fun, man. Where can people find you online, or anything you got to plug? Anything you want to plug, promote coming up?
I mean, there's COVID killed everything. So I perform all around Dallas. So
Okay.
I'm at the Back Door on most weekends since all the road work is gone. Back Door's in Richardson now.
Okay.
Club's awesome. I don't know if you've been to the new one.
I haven't been to the new one yet.
So it seats about 70, 80. It's really like narrow too. So even if it's 40 people, it's like jamming, like loud, like beat the walls, people buckling over and stuff. It's where I'm going to record my next album, because
Nice.
it just sounds good and the energy. It's a very diverse crowd for some reason. I don't know why in Richardson to be that diverse, but I guess Richardson's diverse.
pretty diverse now,
Yeah.
man.
So they go with anything. So like, it's not. It's a cool vibe. So I'm always there working on new stuff.
Cool.
I love my new stuff, but I just need to find to get back on the road.
Sweet, man.
New stuff. So
Well, guys, make sure you catch Paul at Backdoor or online. He's real funny. Follow. You can find me on Instagram at HeHeMikeP or on Facebook / Michael Pasvar. Make sure you guys subscribe to the podcast. We'll see you next time.